a
What's
beautiful
up?
TikTok dance.
Listen, I'm not on it. I look at them sometimes when people send them to me.
Well, if you guys didn't realize, it is TikTok Tuesday.
Whoop, whoop.
It's your girl Damaris and my homeboy.
Mitchell. What's up? We are bringing the Dreamcast to you. Now, starting off hot. So, would you rather, as opposed to Two Truths and a Lie this week, would you rather be stuck on top of a 10-foot pole or stuck inside of a 10-foot hole?
I would definitely say a 10-foot hole.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't like heights. And
Okay.
I'm in the ground, so there has to be bugs, so I can eat the bugs that are in there for protein. Like, I'm going to be stuck there, so I got to live off of something. Am I right?
See, you're thinking about, like, if you are, like, stuck. My first reaction is to think about, okay, how big is this pole? Is it easy to climb down, or is it, like, too wide to where I can't grab around it? How small is the hole? Can I, like, put my back up against it and climb out? Like, my first reaction is, like, how am I going to escape from this thing?
No, I'm just accepting my challenge. Sit there and wait for something to happen.
I got sent to the principal's office for this. Fun fact. There was this climbing pole in the back playground of my elementary school that was, like, as tall as a telephone pole. And because elementary school kids, like, don't have muscle mass, everybody would get, like, halfway up it, get tired, and slide back down. But one day I was climbing up it, and then I, like, latched onto it, rested, and got the rest of the way up. And my teacher, like, with her swiveling hips, just came at me and was so mad because she wasn't paying attention. But like, was so mad because if I had gotten hurt, it would have been on her.
Right.
Even though, like, I knew what I was doing. I wasn't going to get hurt. I slid down and I was like, hey, what's up? And then I got sent to the principal's office for climbing up the dang climbing pole.
Wow. Yeah.
Anyways.
No, I'm not that. I take risks, but not with heights. That stuff is scary to me.
I feel you.
But I kind of want to talk about something kind of important, a little bit of education, a little bit of knowledge, excuse me. So,
cool.
We know that Joseph's brothers, they sold him into slavery, which is a horrible thing. They were jealous. They, did some things that they weren't supposed to be doing. And I thought it would be really important for us to learn some of the differences between, slavery from back in Joseph's time and, like, the slavery that we had, like, 200 years ago, and even sometimes, now in our U.S. history. So there's a thing called indentured servitude. So that's kind of like what Jacob had to do to get Rachel's hand in marriage, right? So you have basically a contract, maybe it could be from 3 years to 15 to 70 years, depending on how much you owe to that person that you're making the contract with. And that you have a hope of freedom after that. So you're like, okay, if I put in the work, I got this. Yeah, it sucks. It's labor. I have to do whatever this person tells me to do. But you have that hope of being free, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But so then we also have this thing called racial slavery or racial chattel slavery, which is where someone takes a person from their home, from their family, and they sell them to do the labor with no hopes of being free. And I just think it's important for us to make sure that we know that, there is still racial slavery nowadays. We had that 200-something years ago. So there's no comparison really to what was happening 3,000 years ago to now. So yeah, just a little bit of something for you guys to research on your own if you want to have a really good discussion in the comments. We would love to hear from you guys, just the feedback from each other.
Yeah, and all of that is to provide historical context, which I always feel like is super important with the Bible, just because there are so many things in it that if we take them for current context, then it might change what the intent behind whatever it is. And this is in, like, a lot of stories. That's not to say that his brother selling him into indentured servitude or whatever was at all good.
Right.
That was still real messed up.
So bad.
They were just like,
bad.
Yeah, here, go. But context, and it's good to have. Great.
Sure.
So
So you guys know today we are going to be reading from Genesis 37 verses 12 to 38. If you guys don't have your Bibles, it'll be a good thing to go ahead and grab it, because our friends are going to be doing another video for you guys to discuss more about it. But yeah,
if you don't necessarily have one around, if you start downloading it now onto your phone,
yes,
then it'll be there by the time that they're talking about stuff.
Yes, technology is awesome, y'all. Come on, use it. Do not take it for granted. Your grandparents will be proud. Okay, so so my question for you is, how do you think the brothers felt after seeing their father in so much distress?
Wow, good question. It's one of those things where I don't know. Well, I definitely haven't seen my dad in this kind of distress that they're talking about. Like, nowhere near it. But even seeing my dad, like, it's a lot of times I feel like especially in like North Carolina or like our culture, that kind of things, it's like your parents are supposed to put on the face. Like, I've talked to them a lot about during the like 2000 and 2008 like financial crisis that like I lived through as a kid, that my parents were dealing with actively, and I've only learned about them recently, and I don't have memories of my parents struggling through those times or figuring out what to do. And I think that's really important to realize that if in our time right now, it was important for the parents to put on to make sure that their kids didn't necessarily know that something that awful things were happening if they could avoid it being seen. In this time, for their dad to just like, I would assume, like, break down and be so distraught over the loss of his son and stuff like that, and that he would allow for his kids to see that, just means how uncontrollable it was. And how rough that was for them to know that they're lying to him and they caused that kind of a distress. It's I mean, I think that it's always really important to think about how your actions could impact people that you love. Or my question for you would be, have you ever had a dream or in any way, shape, or form of you having power over family or friends or something like that? Like, has that ever been like a thought? Or I don't exactly know how to, but the dream that Joseph had about his brothers, where they were all bowing before him, like, has any weird thing like that ever happened in your dreams or something?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because now I can reveal my ultimate plan in life, right? Yeah, I've always, like, when you're younger, you know, you never really understand why your parents do things or say things, or why you have to do things in your family and all that kind of stuff. So I just remember always being like, well, when I get older, you know, I'll make sure I'll be doing this, or when I get older, I'll, you know, fix this in our family or something like that. And I remember just, you know, watching TV, and I can't remember like what happened, but I was like, oh man, I just wish that I could be the head of the family. Knowing daggone well, I'm like 10 years old, don't have a job or anything like that. Like, how am I going to supply for my family? But it's always been a thought for me to, like, yeah, if I wasn't in charge, then, you know, things would be different. But that's not in God's plan. So, yeah, it's not really a good, like, a long answer, but I do remember always thinking to do that.
Yeah, no, for sure. When you're young, it's so funny. Like, when you're younger, you feel like you see everything so clearly and like how to fix everything. And then you get older and you realize how complicated everything is.
Right. Like, well, we're 23, 24 now. And we're still just like, no, I don't want to grow up. Please, no.
No, I'll stay here, right here. My Michael Jordan year, right here.
Yes.
But yeah, if you have an answer to either of these questions, drop it below. We would love to see them. If you have something serious, like some of the things like with dreams and whatever, if you have something that's like you feel like is a little bit more personal, try and find someone to reach out to personally, as opposed to necessarily like commenting it below. just as a is in regards for all the videos that we're about to do and stuff like that. So we'd love to hear what you have to say, but if you feel like it's very personal, we'd also love to talk about that.
For sure. Well, our time is up here. We thank you for yours.
Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
Yeah. See you tomorrow.
Welcome to
The Dreamcast! Hey, Kelsey.
Hey, Dan.
You know, if there's a baby boom in 9 months, what will they be called? What will those kids be called in 2033? Quarantines.
Quarantines.
It's good, right?
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, we are in day 2.
Mm-hmm.
And we're on Joseph again. Where we last left off, right? Joseph has these dreams, and his brothers are pretty jealous of them because of the dreams. And we're going to kind of see what happens from after that, and how the other brothers feel about it. We're reading from Genesis 37, starting in verse 12 through the end of the chapter. So pull out those Bibles and follow along with us. All right?
All right. Let's do it.
All right. Now, his brothers went to pasture their father's flock near Shechem, and Israel said to Joseph, "Are not your brothers pasturing the flock at Shechem? Come, I will send you to them." And he said to them, "Here I am." So he said to them, "Go now, see if it is well with your brothers and with the flock, and bring me word." So he sent them from the valley of Hebron and came to Shechem. And a man found him wandering in the fields, and the man asked him, "What are you seeking?" "I am seeking my brothers," he said. "Please tell me where they are pasturing the flock." And the man said, "They have gone away, for I heard them say, 'Let us go to Dothan.'" So Joseph went with after his brothers and found them at Dothan.
They saw him from afar, and before he came near to them, they conspired against him to kill him. They said to one another, "Here comes this dreamer. Come now, let us kill him and throw him into one of the pits. Then we will say that a fierce animal has devoured him, and we will see what will become of his dreams."
Jerks.
But when Reuben heard it, he rescued him out of their hands, saying, "Let us not take his life." And Reuben said to them, "Shed no blood, throw him into the pits here in the wilderness, but do not lay a hand on him, that he might rescue him out of their hand to restore him to his father." So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe, the robe of many colors that he wore, and they took him and threw him into a pit. The pit was empty, and there was no water in it.
Then they sat down to eat. And looking up, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead, with their camels bearing gum, not the same gum that I'm chewing, balm and myrrh on their way to carry it down to Egypt. Then Judah said to his brothers, "What profit is it if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother, our own flesh." And his brothers listened to him. And Midianite traders passed by, and they drew Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. They took Joseph to Egypt.
When Reuben returned to the pit and saw that Joseph was not in the pit, he tore his clothes and returned to his brothers and said, "The boy is gone, and where shall I go?" Then they took Joseph's robe and slaughtered a goat and dipped the robe in the blood. And they sent the robe of many colors and brought it to their father and said, This we have found. Please identify whether it is your son's robe or not." And he identified it and said, "It is my son's robe. A fierce animal has devoured him. Joseph is without doubt torn to pieces." Then Jacob tore his garments and put sackcloth on his loins and mourned for his son for many days. All his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted and said, "No, I shall go down to Sheol to my son, mourning." Thus his father wept for him. Meanwhile, the Midianites had sold him to Egypt to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the captain of the guard.
Man, things are getting real dicey here for Joseph, right? So, if you're following along, Joseph has these dreams that his brothers are going to bow down to him.
Yes.
And then he's getting this preferential treatment by his dad. He gets this special coat because he loves him most because he's Rachel's son, the only one. And his brothers have had enough. And they're like, "You know what? Let's take that dude and let's kill him." And then one of them's like, "Okay, hold on. Maybe we won't do that. Let's just throw him in a pit.
Not kill him.
And let's sell him to be a slave." Because that sounds like a great alternative, right?
And at least make some money off of it.
Right. So he gets sold and he goes down to Egypt. And if you look what the brothers call him, when they say to their dad like about his disappearance, they say, "Please identify if this robe is your son's or not." They don't even call him his brother. They just say, "Check if this is your son." They don't want anything to do with this guy at all.
Have you ever been this mad at a family member that you would throw him in a pit, sell him for money? I've thought about it a couple
I'd
times.
like to throw some of my family into pits sometimes, but
My sister, well, I don't know that I'd ever throw her in a pit, but
I would do it.
we'll dig a hole in the backyard.
Anyway, you can understand how Joseph might be feeling at this point.
Yeah.
He went from being this like, special son and this robe, and now he's being so betrayed by his own brothers and sold for 20 pieces of silver shekels, and being sold as slavery to Egypt. So things are, he's probably thinking he's pretty down on his luck at this point. So
things are looking pretty grim for Joseph.
Right. But we're going to find out more tomorrow about what happens in the story, right?
That's right.
So thank you guys for tuning in.
Welcome.
And we will see you later on the
Dreamcast. See you guys tomorrow.
Deuces. Hey Kelsey, we're sitting here with our these great hats on.
Oh, come on.
Well, I was Pharaoh. Okay, I got my hat back on. Things are all good now. I'm Pharaoh again. Now, tell me. Hey, tell me.
Okay,
Tell me.
I'm wearing my Joseph costume, and then we're gonna find out what happens tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's great. And you're saving us all from this great famine, I hear, too. So that's helpful.
All right.
Because I like snacks.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay, bye.
So who else has dreams for their lives? Not just me, right? We have dreams like things we're going to accomplish one day, things that we know we're going to succeed in because God has just bestowed it upon us, right? Someone else who has dreams is Joseph. Not only did he just believe that something was going to be bestowed upon him, that something great was going to happen, but God literally gave him dreams as in a vision. God told him, this is what you're going to do. You are going to rule over your brothers and sisters one day. So Joseph knew that this was coming, right? He had dreams. He had big dreams. One of my dreams in life is to become an artist one day. I am going to be a potter. I kind of already am, I guess. But God has put this love of pottery in me that it's unexplainable. It's just something that I can't put words to how much I love having my hands in the clay, in the dirt. It's awesome. So when I make pottery, well, the first thing I do is I make my clay. I make my clay from scratch. So I start with dirt, lots and lots of dirt, like big bags of dirt. And they are heavy, big bags. And I mix all the different types of dirt together depending on what I want the clay to be able to do. And I add a little bit of water, little by little, in this giant mixer. It's a lot of work. I mean a lot of work to make these dreams happen. So once I get my clay, what I do is I take it and I knead it like you're kneading dough. And that gets all the air pockets out, all the little blemishes out, because, you know, we're human. Our dreams can have blemishes. There could be problems, right? So I knead that clay like you're kneading dough, and I get it to the point that I want it to be. And then I put it on the pottery wheel. And very carefully, I take my hands and I create something. So at this point in our story, Joseph has been talking about his dreams. He's been telling about his dreams, right? He's been excited about what God's told him that he's going to do. And at this point, God has said, this is your dream. This is what's going to happen. This is what I am giving you. All you have to do is trust me, right? So as he's doing this, things are happening that aren't so great. In John chapter 1, it talks about how Jesus was rejected by his own people. At this point in our story, Joseph is being rejected by his own people. He's rejected by his brothers and sisters. He's rejected by the people that he has been told he is going to lead, that he has been given this vision, this dream, that he is going to lead them, and they have let him down. Sometimes when I'm making pottery, and I will get to that point where I've made something beautiful, maybe something that someone not only would enjoy what it looks like and think that it's pretty, but want to eat or drink out of it, have it in their kitchen. This is pottery. This is something that could be used for generations and generations to come, and it is so very important to me. But sometimes it doesn't go out like I plan. Sometimes the clay doesn't want to do what I want it to do. It just flops on the wheel. It completely escapes my hands. It escapes what I had planned for it, and it doesn't matter anymore. Sometimes maybe I get the piece finished and it looks great, it looks beautiful, but then it gets knocked off a shelf or I drop it and it's shattered. Right now, I feel like it's probably very tough for Joseph to trust that God is going to make his dreams come true when maybe he's riding in the back of a caravan on the way to Egypt. Maybe it's tough for Joseph to believe that God's going to make his dreams come true when he's sitting in prison. Maybe it's tough for Joseph to believe that God is going to make his dreams come true when he's been accused of something he hasn't done. Maybe it's tough for me to believe that God's going to make my dreams come true when I can't make a cup because my clay just doesn't want to work with me today. Maybe right now, you're in the middle of a dream that seems difficult. Maybe you just really wanted to finish your school year with your favorite teacher. Maybe you really, really wanted to go to summer camp this year. I know I did. And it all just seems broken and shattered. We have to remember that throughout all of this, God is with us. That He's given us these dreams, not just for us to think about and wonder, but dreams for us to know that He has got this. We are not alone, even in the midst of our broken dreams. I'm going to pray with you guys as I close today. Lord, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for bringing us together. Thank you for the technology that allows us to have camp even when we can't have camp. Because this virtual camp has been awesome and a great reminder that you love us. Thank you for loving us each and every day. Thank you for not letting us give up, even in the midst of our broken dreams. Right now, our world seems shattered, but we know that you have got this and we will never be alone. In your precious holy name we pray. Amen.
Can Joseph's life get any worse? Tune in tomorrow to see what awaits him in Egypt. How will Joseph respond when sold into slavery, or when seduced by the boss's wife, or when he's thrown into jail? Watch tomorrow's episode on YouTube channel Camp Dixie NC. Links will be provided on social media and via the Dreamcast page at campdixie.com.